Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
NIHAR, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me on. And first, to start with, I'd like to thank the Swimming Federation of India and the Sports Authority of India for this opportunity to share my experiences with you today. In particular, this is a great initiative started with our Honorable Sports Minister, Mr. Kiren Rijiju, from our SAI Director General, that is Mr. Sandeep Pradhan, and from the Swimming Federation of India, Mr. Virendra Ranavati, and our Secretary General, Mr. Mona Choksi. In my opinion, this is a brilliant initiative, and never before, in my opinion, and never before in the history of our sport in India have this many coaches have come together for the common purpose of upgrading their knowledge. I have never seen this number ever coming together on one platform. I greatly appreciate the positive changes that are coming in now to facilitate world-class outcomes in sport, particularly ours, swimming. So it is very clear to me that if we are to succeed in the international sports arena, we have to adopt world best practices. So what does this mean? What are world best practices? So to be precise, it means to adopt and implement the highest standards and practices anywhere in the world in relation to our sport. And most importantly, find solutions to our national shortcomings at this point in time to upgrade them. So there are three areas which will have direct impact on our outcomes internationally. And these would be, I know there are a number of them, but the three I have shortlisted here is world-class infrastructure and state-of-the-art equipment for our swimmers, coaches and support staff. Okay, world-class infrastructure, state-of-the-art equipment for our swimmers, coaches and support staff. This is absolutely important, but will not be the today's subject. So we need, the second one is upgrading the knowledge of our coaches. And the third one is timely and appropriate implementation of these projects. So I will focus in this presentation on the upgradation of knowledge of our coaches. So just a little brief background before I start. I have been involved with coaching and mentoring swimmers and coaches for many years. So I think this year will make 40 years to be exact. So I'm happy to share my experiences and thoughts in the hope that this might help you on your journey. There are numerous occasions where I have had to deal with a myriad of problems and situations, and I'm hoping in sharing this with you, it might help empower you to move forward. A lot of what I'm going to say is really not directed to the senior coaches who are on here right now, but for the most part, the coaches who are currently undergoing their doing their NIS or any kind of formal education that you're doing in coaching and about to get into the coaching arena, onto the shop floor, so to speak, and get involved with real swimmers and real teams. And hopefully I can give you a few points which might help you move forward. Okay. So as they say, forewarned is forearmed. So hopefully when you have some skills that we have shared, it might empower you to approach situations a lot better than otherwise. That is my wish that something like this, positive like this, happens from this discussion. So at the start of the presentation, I want to start with why I coach and my coaching philosophy. Okay, why I coach and my coaching philosophy. Why is this important? This is because I believe that one needs a clear purpose and roadmap if one is to undertake a journey and reach our desired destination or goal in the most efficient way possible. Just let me repeat that. Everyone involved in quality coaching needs a clear purpose and a roadmap if they are to undertake a journey and reach this desired destination and goal in the most efficient way possible with making the least amount of mistakes. So that's really where I'm coming from. So I will share with you why I coach personally at the end of this program, okay? At the end of this presentation rather. So now is the time for you to reflect on why and where you want to go on your personal knowledge and your personal journey of discovery in coaching, okay? So in addition to this, I have added what I call a coach's toolbox, okay? These subjects will be covered in detail by our expert presenters in the days to come. I have merely just touched upon them because that's really not the scope, because if I'm going to go through each one of these points in detail, I mean, I could probably be here for weeks on end, but I have basically about 45 minutes to get all this done. So I will just touch on these points. And obviously, if you have any specific questions, I will do my best to answer them or find answers for you. So any aspiring coach or any coach for that matter, they need to have a absolutely solid 100% excellent knowledge in stroke mechanics and skills. That's the start of it. They need to be an expert in conditioning in the water, conditioning as swimmers in the water and on the land. They need to be experts in organization, structure, and administration. They need to have very good evaluation skills, and they need to be ethical in their behavior. They need to ensure ethical standards on the team and have to have clear-cut rules, team rules, which are to be adhered to, okay? So getting back to the point of why I coach, I'm really asking you, all of you, please revisit or to clarify to yourself, why is it that you coach? You know, this is a very, very pertinent question. So a few of the, a number of surveys have been done, and these are a few reasons why people coach. I'd like you to do some soul searching and find out why it is that you coach, okay? So there's a list of reasons. These are the most popular ones, pretty much. So coaching allows me to continue competing against others. I love swimming. I had a positive youth swimming experience, and I want to share this with young people or other swimmers. I had a negative youth sports experience, and I want to provide a better, more successful environment for young people to develop. Coaching allows me to remain involved with swimming. I enjoy working with young people and helping them achieve their goals and their dreams. I enjoy teaching, and coaching is a form of teaching. The swim club or the swim team needed a coach, and I needed a job. These are a number of the basic things. So I'm asking you to do some soul searching as to exactly why you want to become a coach or why you coach, because this is really important moving forward to set the stage of what you want to do later or what you want to achieve in your coaching career, okay? So determining why a coach begins the process, developing a personal coaching philosophy. So philosophy will be a reflection of beliefs, values, and attitudes. So you need to develop your own philosophy of coaching, okay? This is an important, very important tool. You can see it on the screen. It provides you with guidance and objectives that you should pursue and the approach that you will take to achieve them. This allows you to make efficient, consistent decisions and works on your values, your value structure. So getting back to my personal philosophy, this has always been the cornerstone of my coaching philosophy on any team that I coach, is to create an environment where champions are inevitable. Create a positive environment in the pool and on the pool deck and in the pool and with the swimmers, that they are empowered, and we are the athlete and the swimmer is the most important part of the whole process. and give them whatever support that is required to ensure that they reach their maximum potential. Basically, what is a champion? A champion really doesn't mean a medalist per se. In my book, any person, any child, or any athlete that comes to you, you have got to, it is up to you to develop them up to their maximum potential, and everybody's maximum potential is different. So if you can help, guide somebody and help them achieve 100% of their maximum potential, I think then you have been a success. So that is really the cornerstone of that is my philosophy. And that again is to create an environment where champions are inevitable. So you need to develop your own personal philosophy. And moving on, another important coaching philosophy is currently in line, I believe, with our sports ministry and pretty much current all over the world. And that is to develop a coach-driven, athlete-centric program. This has got to be the absolute focus of your program. Okay.
Let me jump in for a moment.
Yeah.
I can see there is someone tampering the screen. I can see there are some lines coming on the screen. Whoever is doing that, it is strictly requesting you. We are strictly requesting you to ensure you refrain from that. आप में से कोई शायद स्क्रीन के ऊपर स्क्रैच क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. Please ensure that you don't do it.
Okay, so getting back, I think somebody's still doing it. So anyway, here we are. So that is going to be really the subject. What I want to talk about is which I'll go on a little more in detail further moving forward, is to develop a coach-driven, athlete-centric program. And of course, like I said, my personal philosophy is to create an environment where champions are inevitable. So this is what I've discovered over the years, and which I've been doing consistently, and that has given me some success. So for all the coaches, before I really get into the specifics about the toolbox, I'd just like to remind you, for those coaches who are coming into the Indian coaching scenario, and those of you who are already there for several years, I have identified a few problems which I feel need to be rectified, need to be looked into carefully. And when all of us are working with the same goal, towards the same purpose, I think it's going to empower everybody. So I'm just going to go over a few points which I think are important in the Indian scenario, which need fixing. And I'll get into exactly why I think they need fixing a little later on. So coaches must be aware that equal emphasis and qualities to be placed on grassroots coaching. That is, the swimmers who have been recruited to the swim team right after the Learn to Swim program in the Learn to Train phase. Why is this important? Very, very recently, there has been some improvement in this area. For a number of years earlier, invariably, the Learn to Swim program and the most junior children on the squad were invariably coached by lifeguards or by the least qualified swimming teachers or coaches. And we have had a lot of problems where poor stroke mechanics have been taught to these children, and they end up with bad technique. If there is one thing that is absolutely important, and there is nothing more important than having a swimmer with the most perfect technique possible. So when the senior coaches or the assistant coaches have children with poor technique that they have to spend years on correcting their technique, it's just a complete waste of time.
We lost NIHAR's audio. Is that the same for everyone?
No, we can hear him.
No, sir, we can hear him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to repeat, grassroots coaching, is very, very important, because I'll tell you why. There's a lot of coaches who are, freshers who come out of who just done their SI coaching diploma, or freshers who just come into the coaching field, and they want to become head coaches immediately. They want to focus on getting a national medal as quickly as they can.
Is the audio off, or is it just me? Because
which will give them some kind of credibility. So this is hurting us in a big way. And any coach that comes out there and any program who is recruiting or any swim team that is recruiting coaches, you need to know for sure that the grassroots coaching is the most important, or at least equal emphasis should be put on. I know what I think somebody is going really going berserk with writing stuff all over my presentation to the point where I can't even read what's going on. So Nikita, could you just do something about this?
Actually, I am trying to, but then I can't find any option of controlling that. If you're aware of any option like that, kindly let me know.
Once again, please refrain from this. It's a serious request to the coach who's doing it. We have seen that yesterday. We are seeing this today again.
So yeah. So anyway, getting back. So this is a very, like I said, this is a very critical phase during the learn to train phase, where children must be taught all 4 strokes as perfectly, and the emphasis has got to be on them enjoying their lessons and having fun at the pool at this stage. Due to our age group competitive structure, there is huge. What just happened?
I don't know. Somebody is doing this. If somebody is doing this, kindly stop doing this. It's very distracting and disturbing for the entire session.
Do you still have my presentation?
No, sir. Kindly share your screen again.
Can I just remind me again how to do this?
Yes.
I open the PowerPoint, right?
Yeah, you open the PowerPoint and then click on share screen. It's in the middle of your Zoom window.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So yeah. So getting back to due to our Indian age group competition structure, a huge amount of pressure is put on young children at a very young age to win medals. This same pressure is on our coaches. So such high levels of stress at a young age will invariably lead to early burnout or injury. This is very, very clearly documented. Let me repeat. High levels of stress at a very young age will invariably lead to burnout or injury. This is a real problem that we are facing. A number of our top swimmers or a number of swimmers are dropping out, post 17, 18, this is at a point where most internationally, most top swimmers in the world are, between the ages of say 20 to 26 years of age. So that is the time where our swimmers need to be peaking. And a lot of our swimmers are burning out earlier due to injury, or that they are extremely burnt out because of the huge amount of stress that they have to face at a very young age. So, some reason I can't go to the next screen. Why is that? Okay. So the higher the stress, both mental and physical, due to excessive training in the water and on the land, at a pre-pubertal age, invariably leads to early burnout, or sometimes an injury, or sometimes both. So this usually happens when too much stress is put on children before their age of puberty or maturity. That is normally children between the ages of 10 and 13. Or to at least around 13. When they're overloaded both mentally and physically, you can expect burnout when they are actually supposed to be performing at the highest level or injured. So it is well documented that too much pressure to win medals or being unable to achieve their set goals and lack of enjoyment and the fun aspect during the training or competition session leads to quitting the sport early. So this is a real huge problem that we are facing. And also Indian age group swimmers in India, that is, they tend to focus on specialization too much. I've heard about, that my 12-year-old is a good sprinter, or my 13-year-old is good at distance only. So this is a complete fallacy, and this is really why we are unable to perform at the highest age. We do not need to specialize at the earliest, at such a young age. So coaches need to be very aware that there will be very few winners on their team, and they will have to deal with a larger percentage of swimmers and parents who are unable to get into the top 3 positions. See, our focus is purely on medals. You know, the swimmers are demotivated, the parents are demotivated, the coaches don't have credibility if their young age groupers are not winning medals. So you're going to have maybe 20%, if you're lucky, 20% of the entire squad will be winning medals. That is either gold, silver, and bronze. And you have about 60 to 80% of your team who are not winning anything. So how do you do that? So how are you going to keep your swimmers motivated for 5, 6, 8, 10 years when they are really not coming home with the medals? This is a real challenge that I have faced, and I'm sure everybody will face. And they try to push, along with parental pressure, try to push their kids too far, too early, just for the sake of a mediocre performance where they can get some small medal at some small meet to justify why they are doing the sport or why the parents are spending that kind of money. So this is the problem, okay? In my opinion, the way you handle this situation as a coach will ultimately decide in the success of the program and the consequent reputation of the coach. Okay, this is what is going to ultimately decide in the success, the long term, and this is a long-term success. I'm not talking about short-term gains. I'm talking about, you know, having your swimmers when they're 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, who are performing on the international arena, who are breaking senior national records, and who are bringing credit to the country. I'm not talking about a sub-junior medal, and you think as a coach you achieved a lot if your swimmer has got one or a parent who thinks everything is just great if they've got one sub-junior state medal or a national medal. We have to have a much bigger perspective and look at the big picture and try to have our swimmers perform on the international arena. And for that, our swimmers need to be in training and progressing for at least 10 years of training before they come to that point. That's another big subject that we can talk about later. Another point that that troubles me is that there's a real issue with female swimmers in our country, and a solution has got to be jointly. Everybody, I would appreciate it if everybody comments on this at some point and thinks about this. We have far less female swimmers in the events across the board recently over the last few years. And we have not had a female swimmer reach an Olympic qualifying mark since the year 2004. Yes, in 2012 to 2016, we had one swimmer, but it was a wildcard entry. So even the B qualifying time we had in 2000 and 2004. But since that time, it hasn't happened, and the number of girls participating in the events has dwindled. So this is something that really needs to be looked into, okay? Just food for thought, something to think about and come back with a solution. And for those of you who are going to step into the coaching arena, who are doing your diplomas or your whatever courses that you're doing, this is food for thought for you. And the last point here I have to say is, there is a lack of accountability of coaches. This is a very serious subject. Success in coaching just doesn't mean, landing up on the coaching deck at the right time and just getting done with your practice, walking off, and then that's the end of it. You have got to justify, your existence as a coach on a particular team or a particular squad. What is the performance of that team, of that group? How many kids are you coaching? If you're employed by the government, it's a slightly better situation. If you're privately employed, that's a different situation altogether. You have got to be able to justify your existence on the team. So you've got to be accountable. This is a good point, I believe, for administrators as well, where they need to see what is happening, and the performance of these coaches have got to be tracked and see that they're performing and they're improving the standard of swimming in the country. So really important. So I have covered the Indian scenario in what I believe are issues. I'm very sure there are a number of other issues, and every single one of you as coaches have a lot of different problems which can be probably addressed in a different forum. But that's what I feel as far as the Indian scenario is concerned. In direct contrast, I will tell you and I will show you now what is happening abroad, that is in the top countries in the world. Look at the foreign scenario. Successful strategies from developed countries that dominate world swimming, that is the United States and Australia and other countries. These are the values that are drilled into their coaches for many, many years. At the beginning, at the starting phase, perfection of the four strokes, perfect technique, and having fun in the water during the learn to train phase, that is the most important thing they're focusing on. The next stage of progression, the focus moves to building endurance and the ability to train. There are other presenters who will go into this point in great detail. So just think about it. Normally, children learn to swim around the age of 3 or 4. And till they're 8 to 10 years of age, they usually do more than one sport, not only swimming. All right. Till the age of 11 or 12, they normally don't do 5 to 6 sessions a week. You know, you will find the parent of an age grouper, you know, who's like maybe 10 years old or 11 years old, coming to you and saying, why is my kid doing only 1 session a day? They need to be doing 2 sessions a day, 7 days a week, because we need that competitive edge. You know, if you're going to listen to these kind of things, you're going to end up in trouble at the end of the day. Let me give you a point, and Partha can probably knows about this, because one of his swimmers just got back from the US, from Australia, Kushagra. And I was speaking to Kushagra, and he mentioned, and of course, you know, he's middle distance and he swims 400, 800, 1500, and he has multiple big Olympic B cuts. In Australia, at the highest level, for a distance swimmer who's swimming the mile, the 1500, the 800, and the 400, and the middle distance 400, he was training a maximum of 9 sessions a week. 9 sessions a week, and that is at the very highest level. Perhaps we are overtraining our swimmers. And definitely, as far as our age group swimmers are, we have got to go easy, because they are going to burn out. So this is just a point. This is my opinion. You can think about it, debate on it, and come up with your own solutions to this. So next point. So when a swimmer reaches 16 years of age on average, they don't normally, till they reach 16 years of age, they don't normally specialize. And they're encouraged to train all 4 strokes, swim the individual medley, that is both 200 and the 400. And this actually helps that you don't have too much emphasis on one particular stroke, and you don't have staleness setting in, and injury due to overuse of certain muscle groups. So it's really important that you, at any age or at any level, 16 or under, or at any point in time, that you do have some kind of individual medley training, and that balances all the 4 strokes, and it's a really good thing to do. So till the age of 11 to 12, competitions are limited to low-level interclub meets without any pressure of winning or losing. The top 16 times are normally, what you normally get is a colored ribbon, okay? Just a different color, whether you're number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 6, whatever it is. So that's normally, there's no medals. You know, it's not like the parents are devastated that, oh, my daughter or my son didn't win a medal, and therefore the coach is not taking care of my kid properly. This is what we all hear a lot. The coach is focusing on some other swimmer, and therefore my kid came 6th, and that the other kid got a silver medal or whatever it was. And this is a huge problem. All of us have faced this, all of us, and this is a real problem. You know, all you get at the end of a meet, and there are no, small age group meets, there are no elaborate victory ceremonies and, medal presentation ceremonies and all that. This doesn't happen.
NIHAR, Amin sir, excuse me.
Yes?
So just giving a small support for you.
Yeah.
Actually, I could see somebody is drawing on your.
I know.
So you have to click on view options on top of your screen, view or share options. More.
One second.
Not this one. This is a browser, sir. 1 second. Just click on the share below area, 4-inch scenario over there. Just click on there.
Below, is it?
So how did you share this? Okay.
I'll tell you how to do it. Nihar, on the top of your screen, next to where it's a green thing tab, which shows you are sharing your screen.
Yes.
And then there are view. This is view options.
Yes.
Right. So if you drop that down, at the bottom you see stop participant sharing.
No, not that, sir.
Okay.
He has to stop annotations by others.
There's an option called disable annotate. Just
there's annotate. I'll open annotate, and it says
disable participant annotations.
Yes, that one.
I don't really have it. I have mouse, I have select text, draw, stamp, spotlight, eraser, format, undo, redo, clear, save. That's all I have.
You have to click on annotate first.
I did that.
Is there any other option coming up like disable annotations?
No, I don't have disable. I have one option that says more.
Click on more, please. I cannot see the options. That's why I'm asking you like this.
Okay. Disable attendee annotation. Yes.
Yes, that's it. Make sure you keep it like that for the next presentation also, sir, because people might disturb. If you, after doing that, just click on annotations and clear all drawings.
Clear all drawings.
Yeah.
Clear all drawings.
Yes.
Perfect.
Now on, there won't be a problem. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, now I lost my train of thought about that.
Sorry for that.
That's okay. Thank you. Because people are kind of drawing all over my presentation, so that's
nowadays it has been a problem.
Nikita, we might need to kind of either extend the session or Nihar will have to go a little faster.
It's okay. We can extend it a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll. How much more time do I have? Maybe about 10 minutes. All right. So anyway, here we are. So this is where we are on this. And normally, children don't train more than 8 to 10 sessions till they reach high school and don't enter an extremely competitive environment in sport. Okay. So now looking at the so this is what I was talking about. This is how things go in the most developed, most successful countries in the world. And I gave you a snapshot about what we do in India. So ultimately, if we are going to have to perform on the, and we're looking at an Olympic podium and at the top international meets in the world, we've got to do something similar, possibly, than what the other countries are doing. Because a lot of our children are either getting injured or burning out at a very young age. So I'm really happy with what is happening right now. And there seems to be a good amount of alignment, and we're moving toward world best practices is what we are. We are moving to world best practices. And as you can see in this diagram, you have two pathways, and that is one from our district and state championships, which our sub-junior and junior teams are selected, and then they perform over there. And of course, you also have the Khelo India Youth. And on the other side of it, you've got the school championships, which are the SGIF Nationals and the Khelo India University. And all this feeds into the Khelo India platform, which in my opinion is probably one of the greatest things that ever happened. And implementation of this is of paramount importance. And this, again, all of you already know that these children and the coaches and the centers will get support. These kids will get the financial funding on a number of issues that the experts can talk about it. And of course, ultimately, you've got the TOPS, which is the target Olympic podium, where this whole thing gets to. So I think this is a fantastic initiative. And instead of us just doing things randomly, we have structure in place. And I think this is really important moving forward. And that's why I've actually put this down. Okay. So now, getting back, that's all I really have to say about that right now. But we can talk about it more in the questions if you like. So getting back to the toolbox, the first and most important thing, simply because stroke technique is the absolute most important thing that any coach has to focus on. And the greatest gains in the sport will be with the most perfect technique. So you have got to have solid basic biomechanics. You have to know your stroke models, your strokes, the freestyle, backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, starts and turns, and your underwater dolphin kick have got your knowledge of these has got to be absolutely perfect. And you know, as coaches today, you have unlimited resources on the internet, and please read up, please study, please watch videos, talk to people. I'm, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago, it was, you know, it was the situation that we had was very, very different. And the only thing that really drove us forward was passion. So that's a different thing about how to learn and how to gain knowledge. You have unlimited resources available on the internet and everywhere to make sure that you can be the best possible, that you know, the best coach that you can be by reading up and understanding and becoming a master of these resources that are available to you. So there again, stroke mechanics and skills, very important. The first most important thing in your toolbox. So I'll go on to this a little bit later. So water and land conditioning. All coaches must have an excellent working knowledge of the subjects mentioned below, that is basic physiology, how the body works. You have to ensure that land conditioning, what your kids do on the land, enables swimmers to have the maximum agility on the land, the best core strength and stability. That is postural stability as well as shoulder stability, which is very, very important to prevent injuries in swimming, because the swimmer's shoulders are so important, and the highest amount of injuries in swimming are reported with the shoulders. So the more stable your shoulders are, the stronger they are, is highly unlikely that you're going to get injured. And then of course, you have got to really know how to do your periodization, your seasonal planning, both in the land and the water, and how the two come together for the best possible situation and best recovery and progression in your program. You have got to be a master of energy zones, about exactly what energy zones are and how they can help you in designing your program. The difference between designing an age group or a novice practice, or planning a senior for a senior coach or for a senior swimmer. And then of course, most importantly, performance and recovery nutrition, because recovery is everything. However hard you work, if your athlete is unable to recover in time, they're going to get injured at the end of the day, and they're not going to be able to train at the desired intensity. Okay, so the second one in the toolbox, teaching and communication. You have got to understand the basics of physical growth and development of a child, and gender. Most importantly, girls are different, boys are different. The way the girls grow and mature, the way boys grow and mature, completely different at completely different times. And I'm sure there are a lot of resources out there, and I'm sure that this will be covered in the subsequent topics during this program. So very, very important to be able to communicate and understand these things. So under evaluation of team performance, very, very important that you look at both sides of it. You've got swimmer attendance. Why is that such a big deal? You know, it really is one of the biggest tools that you have. Well, your biggest evaluation tools that you have is basic attendance. You will find, let me tell you, you will find that there are swimmers, you know, at a state meet or some kind of competition will come to you and say, you know what, I haven't improved at all the whole season. And you, at that point in time, when you're dealing with 30, 40, 50 swimmers and their parents, it's really, really difficult for you to answer questions on what's going on. But if you go back and look, invariably, I'm telling you, most of the time you'll find that swimmer, he or she, would possibly not have been attending all the training sessions, would have had huge gaps in their attendance and not trained in the proper way. And invariably, it's those swimmers who don't perform, don't improve. And this is the single biggest tool that you have as a coach that can solve those problems for you moving forward. Okay, you need to track team performance overall for the group that you're coaching or the groups that you're coaching. You need to track individual performance, and you have to have team meetings either on an individual basis or on a group of swimmers. So you need to look on the other side. You need to evaluate your coach's attendance, whether they're regular, whether they are on time to practice, if they're late, how much leave they're taking, and of course the coach's performance. You know what the group that you have given them, whether they're performing or they're not having or not performing. you need to look into the coach's education to see that they are keeping update with the latest trends in coaching. And perhaps you can have clinics, or you can do in-house clinics, or you can talk to the coaches about these things from time to time. And you need to have a meeting scheduled for parents and staff on a regular basis. So this comes under evaluation. These are all important things that you need to do. Some of us, sometimes we neglect these things, and it's good to know that these are the most important things, at least if I'm sure that you do know, but it's good to remind yourself from time to time, okay? Now, this is a really important thing, athlete centric focus. We all have to understand that the athlete, the swimmer, is at the epicenter of everything that we do. And everything we do, whether it's the parents, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the administration, everything works, should work, must work to the benefit and the more, like I said, the most important things are motivation, ambition, and capability. These have to be nurtured. Okay, this has got to be nurtured. So it's very, very important to have a athlete-centric focus. You can see the athlete is at the center. You've got your coaches, you've got your board or managing directors, and you've got your parents, and at the center, the epicenter, you have athletes. So this is something that was put together by a world leader by the name of Wayne Goldsmith. And it's very, very important in terms of athlete-centric. You can see the athlete is on how you develop the athlete in the center. If you can just go through it, and you just start at the beginning with genetic and natural power. This the basic genes will give you the size and the structure of the athlete, and we look at raw talent. Okay, that has to be looked at first. And you take that genetic, what you have, the genes that you normally have, and the natural size that person has, and the raw talent and ability, and that has got to be trained and focused on both physically, physiologically, that is strength, speed, endurance, agility, power, flexibility, movement, stability. These are all the things that you need to work on. Mental and emotional, mental skills, concentration, visualization, toughness, relaxation, mental health, that is a positive mental makeup. Moving on to technical skills, sports specific in terms of your technique, fine tuning your technique, and sports specific skills. Once that is perfected, you need to move on to tactical and strategic, that is race pace, where your best chances on what events to swim, how you should pace your races, strategy execution. This is our problem solving at competitions. There are a lot of different things that you can do, which are tactical and strategic in the development of your athlete. And then, of course, last but not least, is the environmental situation, where there are 100 pulls and pressures, where kids have to go to school. They've got a home situation. They've got homework to do. They've got the schools will not give them leave to go to meets or to train at the right time, and how they deal with personal relationships. So these are pretty much the most important things that are out there. And if you were to look at developing your athlete to the top, to the highest level, this is what you have to really focus on. The commitment of the athlete, that the confidence of the athlete is at the highest. You have the most motivated athlete possible. That athlete is extremely passionate, that they are willing to persevere, and not, they don't do well in one meet and then they give up and say, no, I don't want to swim that event anymore because I don't do well in it, or I got beaten. Perseverance and drive are very, very important, that they keep on and on and on working at it, because success comes after a lot of perseverance, after many years of working at it. They need to enjoy, they need to love the sport, they need to enjoy coming to the pool and enjoy racing. If they hate coming to the pool, if they're not happy with it and they're not happy in their environment, they are not going to perform. It's very, very simple. And there are always ups and downs. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. And you have got to teach your athlete to be resilient. So resilience really means, that is to take the good with the bad and to keep working on and focusing on your goals. And a lot of resilience and perseverance is required for that. So there are a number of things here. Personal leadership, selflessness, integrity, honesty, humility, respect. These are all qualities that if they're nurtured in your athletes, you are definitely going to get the best out of them. Okay, this is a world leader, Mr. Wayne Goldsmith. He is absolutely brilliant, and this is something he put together. And I firmly believe that this is great, and that's the reason why I'm actually sharing it with you. So this is another thing you have. This is basically for a very high level athlete, and I'm not talking about a 10 or a 12-year-old age grouper. You know, you got to be your approach with coaching a young age grouper and a senior level swimmer. It's very, very different. So you can look at it, and I will share my presentation so you guys can get a copy of it. And if you have any questions, you can get back to me, or we can talk about it. It's all there. You can see it. So you need to be flexible. You need to be adaptable. Focus on the individual, and you need to be responsive to the needs of the athlete. So yeah, I'll share this with you. You can look at it. If you have any questions, maybe we can even address it to Wayne Goldsmith himself, and let's see what he has to say. Okay. So, okay. So to reiterate, the preceding two diagrams have been created by Wayne Goldsmith, who's a global expert in coaching, coach education, coach development, and team performances. You can find more from him on wgcoaching.com. Okay. So these diagrams, what you saw, like I told you before, are applicable predominantly for coaching elite level senior swimmers, where there's got to be a lot of interaction between them, and it has to be very athlete centric if you want to get the best out of these swimmers or athletes. Okay. So getting down to ethics. So very important that you have got to advocate drug-free sport. You have got to keep on talking about this to your athletes throughout the year. And in India, we have quite a unique, well, I won't say unique, but we have a situation where there are a number of spurious fake nutritional supplements that are available in the market. You know, most of our athletes are taking protein supplements and all kinds of other supplements. So you have got to educate them that, you know, what they put in their bodies is their responsibility, and they have to be very aware of it and very educated that what it says on the label may not necessarily be what's in the box or in the tub of supplement or whatever it is. So, you know, a positive drug test will ruin your team's reputation, your athlete's reputation, and your reputation as a coach. Please be very careful. This is the number one thing that you need to focus on at all times. Okay, very, very, very important. So ensure an environment on your pool deck or in the pool for all your athletes to provide equal opportunity, regardless of gender, social standing, caste, creed, and religion. None of these things have any place on the playfield. And make sure that you keep it outside and don't bring it in. This comes under ethics. You need to have a strict policy which must be informed with a set of team rules for both the swimmers and the parents, their behavior. And of course, the last one here is strict rules in place regarding the treatment of female athletes and abuse of all kinds on the team. Now, abuse can be a number of things. It can be you know, it can be bullying, you know, people bullying one another using foul language. It can be sexual abuse. I think all of us know recently we've had a number of these kind of problems. So we need to be very, very aware of this. And our behavior and the team's behavior has got to be extremely ethical. And we have got to have a set of team rules, which are very, very important and must be in place at all times. So, yeah. I've already covered this. So yeah, so this is a really important. In a healthy team, the philosophies of the head coach, all the coaches, basically the administrators and the staff, must be in tune. If not, it's time for one or more parties to seek a different environment. Everybody has got to be reading off the same page. Your junior coaches, your assistant coaches, the head coach, all of them have got to adhere to the same policy and have got to be speaking the same language. If not, you're not going to be successful, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble because people will take advantage of this situation very, very easily. So I'm kind of running out of time. So there are a number of things here. I will mail this. I'll mail this to the federation so you can go through it. So we have here the role of the head coach, who is the final authority on all matters, in charge of overseeing the entire program and making up group and coaching assignments, ultimate responsibility to mentor and supervise assistants. And the role of the head coach may vary depending on the organization model. So is the coach the owner of the team? Is he merely an employee? Is there a board? Is he on the board? Or is he on a parent board, parent-owned board? So these are different things which have to be looked at. So the most important thing is, as far as the coach is concerned, there are two very clear distinctions. And one is there is a dry side and a wet side of responsibilities. Okay, the dry side responsibilities refer to responsibilities which are away from the pool deck, and wet side responsibilities are clearly those responsibilities which are directly related to coaching the athletes in the pool. And you can see this, the dry side here. Plans to develop the budget, assisting in fundraising when, for example, for meets, if you want to have a meet, or if for any reason you need to raise funds to attend meetings, whether it's your team meetings, the state association, parents meetings, and to oversee communication of updating, seeing that your website is updated, that your social media is updated, that your advertising and your team records are updated. These are things that you do. These are all dry side responsibilities. What kind of equipment that needs to be purchased for the team. You need to run parent education programs. And if you're in charge of the finances, then you, of course, you will get to write a few checks as you're authorized to do, depending on your situation. So these are the dry side responsibilities. Looking at the wet side responsibilities. The coach oversees all levels of swimming, designs and plans, directly coaches at least one group, educates and supervises all the coaches. You set the practice schedule, set the practice groups, and attend the highest level. This is, I'm talking about the head coach, attends the highest level of competition and sees that all swim meets are attended by at least one team coach. And you determine your schedule for the team and individual team entries, and supervise the athletes at meets, and set the policy for attendance of each group and the discipline policy, which should be in your set of team rules. So these are the two dry side and wet side responsibilities which you need to clearly focus on, and this will help you from time to time not get muddled between the two and have a clear idea about what is required. Okay. So then, of course, you have the role of the assistant coach. So it depends where. Are you moving into a head coaching position? Are you an assistant coach? So this is where you are. So this is what you have. You design the plan for your group in consultation with the head coach. You directly coach at least one group. You supervise the junior coaches and attend competitions. Determine the meet schedule for the team or your group in consultation with the head coach. Excuse me. So, getting to the end of this, whether you like it or not, you're a role model as a coach. Children will look up to you, the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, how you behave, how you react to situations, and you need to be very, very aware of that at all times. And not only the swimmers, you will find coaches, your junior coaches, your assistant coaches, emulating the way you give commands, whether you, and I've had this over the years. They try to copy the way I speak, the way I give starts, how I speak to my swimmers, the way I behave. I see, people trying to emulate that, and people will do that. As a coach, you're in a very responsible position, and people will be watching you at all times about how you do, how you dress, all kinds of things. You will be shocked at how you are being watched. So be very aware of that. So at the end of the day, your role as a coach is to develop the lifetime skills of that athlete. They're going to swim for a few years, and sport is a fantastic character building exercise. And at the end of the day, believe me, it's not about the medals. When you're, 20, 30 years from now, when your swimmers, this has happened to me, they come back to me and they have told me, what you told me, what we talked about in the coach, in the meetings, those are lessons that I learned for life. It doesn't matter whether I won a gold, silver, or bronze. It doesn't matter whether I broke a national record. You helped me by swimming. My team supported me, and I have become a success in life because of these great lessons that I learned. And these are lifetime skills that you are going to impart to your swimmers. And this is a huge responsibility on you. And the better job you do at this, the more impact you're going to have on the lives of the coaches, on the coaches and the swimmers that you deal with. Okay. So we've all heard this about how sport builds character. This is just what I was talking about. In the sports area, it is the coach. Yes, of course, sport itself, the game itself, how the game goes, how the meet runs is important. But the coach himself is the most influential in building or shaping a young person's character, for sure. I'm very, very confident, and I'm very, very clear about that. And that has happened to me a lot. So very important that the coaches needs to be, the words need to be consistent with their actions. So you can't threaten something, about some kind of punishment, or you can't have, rules that you have to say the swimmers have got to be 15 minutes. They've got to be at the pool 15 minutes ahead of time, do their loosening up and be ready to dive in. And if you never enforce that, you will find before you know it, everybody is strolling in 20, 30 minutes after practice with after practice starts with some flimsy excuse or the other. And there are hundreds of excuses like this. So you've got to be very, very clear about whatever you say is consistent with your actions. Okay. So everybody on the team, the cohesive coaching staff respects each other, takes responsibility, and ultimately speaks with one voice to the swimmers and parents. You can't be saying different things. The different coaches on the team can't be saying different things and giving mixed messages, especially about technique. Everybody across the board has got to have very, very clear ideas about technique, about why they're doing a particular thing during the season, why they're swimming certain events. So if everybody all the coaches and everybody will have a different opinion, but it's very, very important that they all speak with one voice and not contradict one another, because that will undermine the success of the team and will cause problems later on. Okay. So these are dominant values the coaches need to teach their swimmers, and these are the characteristics which they need to inculcate. That competition and striving to do one's best is a fun activity. Learning and improving swimming skills is valuable. Swimming is an excellent lifetime sport and part of a healthy lifestyle. Setting and meeting personal team goals is a rewarding experience. Cooperation and support amongst teammates during practice and meets is very, very important. Practices are essential steps in an athlete's long-range development. If your athletes are not going to swim in the energy zones that are required of them, if they are not going to put their best foot forward and they're not going to push in practice and not show up to practice, a lot of swimmers who are not regular to practice, they're going to fail. They're not going to achieve their goals. And it's very, very important that you inculcate them good habits of coming to all the scheduled practices and pushing as hard as they can so that they can achieve their goals and their maximum potential as an athlete. Okay. Training, competing are worthwhile and pleasurable activities. The courage to extend oneself and take risks to become better is very worthwhile. So you'll find a lot of people, a lot of swimmers who might not want to push hard and just stay in the safety zone. And whenever they get, oh no, that's too tiring. I don't want to do it. I'm tired all the time. I had a really hard gym workout and I can't really do the workout. If you want me to do a quality workout right now, I just completely wasted myself in the gym. I did bench press and I did deadlifts, and I can't train really hard now. No, you have got to teach your athletes, your swimmers, to extend themselves, take risks, and push hard to become better. And that's your responsibility as a coach. Okay. So getting close to wrapping this up, more often than not, when somebody inquires, one of the first questions is that person, is she or is he a good coach? So they did a study about this in the United States with 200 undergraduate student athletes in different universities. And they were asked to put down a list of characteristics that what they thought were what they thought was what a good coach was. So this is the skill set. I'm just going to share that with you right now. So that's over here. So this is what they came up with. The person should be patient, he should be experienced, he should be a good communicator, knowledgeable, a motivator, have a sense of humor, not to be too serious all the time. They need to be punctual, have a loud voice, okay? You need to be able to hear the coach. That's really important. Use that time wisely in the practice sessions, don't waste time. Be able to manage people well, be adventurous and, flexible, be organized, not just be a dictator. Sometimes you can be a buddy, you can be a friend to your athletes too. You can show them that you care, you can be open-minded to their requests, and have a good ability to teach. So these are general characteristics, and I hope some of you have a good number of these characteristics, and if you don't, you should try to probably develop on this. So I have more or less come to the end of what I have to say, and if you just remember at the beginning, I told you I would share with you at the end of I requested you to do some soul searching as to why you want to coach or why you actually coach. And I told you at the end of the session that I would share with you why I coach personally and what motivates me as a coach. And I will share that with you very clearly. So on the next slide, you will see exactly why I coach and what motivates me as a coach. Okay. This is something I honestly believe. There is no sweeter sound than the sound of our national anthem. And there is nothing more inspiring than the sight of our Tiranga, our national tricolor, flying high at a major international tournament. All our efforts as Indian coaches must be directed to this ultimate purpose. This is why we do what we do. And it's you as coaches who are going to be able to do this. You are the new guard that has to step in. There are a number of senior coaches probably over here. I think there are quite a few people here. Senior coaches, but we have a whole bunch, I think around 600 odd coaches here, and you need to move forward. You need to take the mantle, and you need to do whatever it takes to see that this happens. Do everything in your power to see that our national flag is flying, and we hear the strains of our national anthem playing at major international meets, whether it's the Asian Games, the Commonwealth Games, the Olympic Games, wherever it is at big international meets. Ultimately, that's what you need to be working towards. And that's why I coach, and that is what is my motivating factor. Okay. I apologize for the small glitches that there were earlier with this whole thing. And I hope I've been able to share some good points. I will share this presentation for you to go through, and we'll do some quick questions and answers or whatever it is. So thank you for bearing with me. And I wish you all the best in your coaching endeavors. Okay. Thank you so much for listening in. And I'm open to any questions if anybody has them right now.
Partha, can you switch on your video? Yeah, thank you, Coach NIHAR, for ending on such a motivating note. And I'm sure all the coaches enjoyed your session. So let me tell you how we're going to do this. Partha and I and NIHAR will keep looking at the group chat for the questions, and so that we don't miss any questions. As you all know, we had to waste a little time, and we've run about 10 minutes over. So we'll keep the Q&A session for Partha 10 or 15 minutes. So Nikita, can you tell us how long we can stay on the Q&A?
I think we should. I need to start my next session from 11:30, so it will be better if we can
Yeah, so 15 minutes as it was originally planned. 15 minutes of Q&A starting now. So it's about 11:12. So I think another 10 minutes we'll wrap up. So let's have quick questions, and instead of thank yous, we will appreciate solid questions coming in. Let the chat box not be encouraged. Okay, we have a question here.
In 25-meter pool, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Partha, because one by one we'll keep looking at
questions. Each 25 meters pool is okay for training age groupers, as my training center, Marling Aquatics, is only 25-meter pool, or it is a hurdle for developing swimmers to the top level?
No, I don't believe training in a 25-meter pool is a hindrance. In fact, I think it's an advantage. Your swimmers will develop, will have much better turns than their opposition. their stroke rates will, when they're training, their stroke rates will improve to closer to competition stroke rates. When they're training, your swimmers will be much more enthused to swim 25 meters, especially the younger ones. You will have, as a coach, you will have much more control when you're walking up and down 25 meters. It will not, from time to time, whenever possible, maybe once in a week, once or maybe even twice a week, if you can access a 50-meter pool, that's great. But you know what? It's not the end of the day. There are so many benefits of training short course in a 25-meter pool, which I just told you. These are all great things that will help your swimmers actually improve better, in my opinion. And in fact, you have some world record. We had some world record holders who only train in a 25-meter pool. For example, Mike Barrowman. For many years, he held the 200 breaststroke world record. He only trained in a 25-meter pool. I will tell you one example. This was when I was coaching in the US. Because this was before the 92 Olympics. At the Hall of Fame pool in Fort Lauderdale, the warm-up pool was completely changed to short course because Mr. Joseph Nagy, who is a world legend in breaststroke coaching and who was the coach of Mike Barrowman, he insisted, he said he would not swim this Olympic qualifying meet at the Hall of Fame unless the warm-up pool was changed to short course. And that's how important it is, and that's how it's viewed internationally. So there you have it. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
We have a question from someone about how do we determine the transition point from learn to swim to learn to train?
Okay, this will be covered in great detail by one of the other presenters in the long-term development program, which is going to come up. But very briefly, the learn to swim basically is just an initiation into the world of swimming, and it should be more about learning to float and having fun and playing games and having the children just love the aquatic environment. And the learn to train environment is something when they're actually formally taught to perfect all the 4 strokes. And normally they normally learn to swim 1 stroke during a learn to swim program. And then when it comes to the learn to train program, you endeavor to teach the children all the 4 strokes, maintaining the element of fun and happiness in the training environment. Okay.
There are a couple of questions which I won't bother NIHAR with. I'll just say, how do we deal with overwhelming parents? There is a special session for that. Land conditioning, when and how, there is a special session for that. Energy zones, how and what, there is a special session for that. There is a question which Coach NIHAR can address. It is about how to balance the requirements of the sport in terms of practice and the commitments required, how to balance that with academics of the swimmer.
Yeah. So let me tell you that a bit too much drama is happening in our country regarding this. If you have a good look at what's happening around the world, I'll give you a good idea about what happens to a very high percentage of all the swimmers around the world. They come into their training session at 5 a.m. in the morning. They are done by 7 a.m. They have a packed breakfast and they head to school, okay, eating breakfast in the car or the public transport. They have a full day of school. They get done by school, have obviously they will have lunch in school, have a snack on the transport or their car or whatever transport on the way back to the pool, arrive at the pool at between 3 and 4 in the evening. By 6 p.m., they are done, and then they do their homework and go to sleep immediately after they finish their homework at about 9 p.m. at night latest. This is the life of top swimmers all over the world, okay? And if they can do it and they can reach the Olympics and win multiple Olympic medals, we certainly should not be making a big fuss about this. Having said that, it's very important for our educators, for our schools, our colleges to understand the importance of sport and how important it is, and to be able to give some concessions to these swimmers. I have been very fortunate, and I have a lot of swimmers who from all over the country who come and train with me, and have been given that flexibility to only go home to do their exams and be able to train. That's an amazing situation that we have in this country. So in my opinion, we have a much better situation here than most places in the world, where this is what the top programs in the world, this is what how swimmers train. Okay.
There's an
Next
important question which has come from multiple people. Partha, I just observed this question. It's important, so I'll just mention it in case it gets missed. There are a lot of people here who are coming from colder climates, and therefore have only 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 months in which they can train. Yeah. So how to handle that challenge? Could you, because that's not getting covered in any other session.
Yeah, well, that definitely is a challenge. There's no doubt about it. And this is this clearly comes under the infrastructure development. In North India, we definitely have to have more and more facilities that are that are all weather. And swimmers need to train at least 300 days. National level swimmers need to train at least 300 days in a year at a good intensity if they're going to be able to, or if they want to catch up with what the rest of the world is doing. Okay, so not being able to access the pool for 6 months is definitely not a good idea. And I think the federation, the sports ministry, the powers that be take cognizance of this, and there need to be a lot more all-weather facilities in North India, where we have extended winters and cold weather. So this is important. It's very difficult for us to compete internationally if this is the case.
How do I question my coaching practice? Using reflection in action and or reflection on action. It is a question by Vikas Singh.
Sorry, repeat that. Reaction.
How do I question my coaching practice using reflection in action or reflection on action?
Reflection in action or on action?
Yep.
Well, I mean, basically, if you're following best practices, and you, like I said, if you use your coach's toolbox judiciously, which I have provided, most of your problems will be pretty much solved, and there will be time for you to introspect and to look at exactly what you have, what you're achieving, and what problems that you're facing, and find solutions for that. So you don't, I think knee-jerk reactions or reacting to situations directly on the spot, particularly on the pool deck, for example, are not a good idea. I'm not terribly sure if I understand exactly what you mean, but that's really what I understood from your question. Yeah.
We have a question from Sajan Prakash, and the question is this.
Not the swimmer, right?
For kid, yes, Olympian.
Okay.
Olympian. If a kid at their 15 years of age and their parent have the plan of just continuing the sport till their high school, it's a relevant question, therefore I'm posing it. How, from a coach's point of view, how to deal with the program of the team if the coach is focused on the long-term performance of the team? So idea I think he's trying to ask is the parents and the swimmer have a plan to continue the sport only to the high school. How would you look at it from a long-term development perspective?
So it's very clear, the answer in that, Sajan, is the athlete centric development. And that's why coaches need to be focused on the needs of athletes specifically, and develop them and take care of their needs. While a 15-year-old who wants to just swim for a couple of years is important on the team for a number of reasons, and their needs need to be looked at. Why the stress that I'm putting on long-term development is it's highly unlikely that a 15-year-old who wants to swim for 1 or 2 years is probably going to reach his or her potential and be able to perform at a very high level internationally or win an Olympic gold medal. It's highly unlikely. I mean, Michael Phelps was about 16 years old when he qualified for his first Olympics and came 5th, for example, in the 200 butterfly, since we're talking to Sajan. So if it is the requirement that, there's place on everybody on the team. And if you are athlete centric, if you are looking at the needs of and motivation of that particular athlete, there is place for a swimmer like that on the team. You have got to cater for everyone. And if that is what their goals are, fine. But you as a coach need to be looking at athletes, parents, and a support system that are ready for the long haul for at least 10 years of hard training before you can actually get on the world stage. Because at the end of the day, what I'm talking about is how is India going to win its first Olympic medal? How are we going to get there? Right, in the most immediate situation is how what are we going to do to get our first Olympic A qualifier, leave alone the medals. So Sajan, that's pretty much what I have to say, and I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Partha, if I may,
Yeah,
there is a very important question here by Mr. Prasad RS from Bangalore. How to quantify the progress of an age group swimmer? Is it only through their winning of medals? No, certainly not. And Coach NIHAR and Partha Majumdar have developed a matrix for monitoring the progression of a swimmer through the training phase. So maybe NIHAR can speak a little about that, and that can be shared with coaches who are also interested to use the tool for progression monitoring.
No, see, more important, Monal, more important than the progression monitoring. So you know that your athlete is actually improving. Other than that, actually at meets, if you focus on the process and not outcomes, if you focus on personal improvement, if you focus on not what somebody else is doing or what some other child is doing, and whether your child is improving, every season, if your child or your trainee has improved X amount of seconds in a particular event, whether it's microseconds or it's seconds, it's progress. And any kind of progress has got to be acknowledged. And that swimmer or you are doing something right. No, no two children are alike. Structures are different, flexibility is different, mental attitudes are different. It doesn't mean if your swimmer doesn't win a medal, they're a failure. The majority of swimmers that you're going to coach are probably not going to win a medal. If you don't and you don't inculcate and if you don't teach your parents that they need to focus on self-improvement and not chase mediocre medals. This is a very, very important thing for Indian swimming. I like that question. Thank you for asking it. If you can convince your parents, if you can convince your swimmer that they don't need to focus on the medals, medals will come when they have to come after several years of training. Don't think about the here and now. If there is, in a particular season, if there's progress happening, it's positive and it's good, and they should be motivated with that. Okay?
So continuing on that same thing, there was a question before which asked about plateauing. Can you talk briefly about plateauing so that the coaches are able to deal with parents who can be challenging when the child has plateaued?
Yeah. Plateaus can happen. Plateaus can happen for a number
of... Explain the plateau.
Sorry?
Term. The question didn't mention plateau, so explain the term also.
Yeah, a plateau is basically when the status quo, when there's no movement, when there's no improvement, when a swimmer has reached a particular level, and from subsequent meets during the season, it is static. For example, in a 100-meter freestyle, just in a manner of speaking, if a girl or a boy is stuck at one minute flat and they're not progressing for one whole season or maybe even 2 seasons, they're stuck there. So what do? This is extremely demotivating for an athlete, and you've got to find ways on what to do, on how to get around this. And to do this, you have got to stay. First, you've got to be mentally very resilient and very strong. And as a coach, you have got to try different ways or different methods to move around the training program. Perhaps the swimmer is has maybe too much dry land and is too exhausted to train properly. Maybe that swimmer is doing too little. The fitness levels are too low. Maybe the swimmer is not training in the right zone. Maybe they're not pushing hard enough. Very rarely you'll find some athletes who are training too hard and they're so exhausted they can't recover. There are 100 different reasons for plateauing, but you as a coach have got to take cognizance of that fact and you've got to try to play with your training program and try to do the best you can under the circumstances for that athlete to try and create a different stimulus, a different stimulus, either, less land and more water, a different intensity, to change the training program, maybe stop training that stroke and do an IM based program. Maybe sometimes this can happen to breaststrokers. If they're just doing breaststroke all the time, give them a month where they don't train any breaststroke at all and bring the freshness back. There are 100 different things that you can do. Plateaus are a very important, a problem that we have to deal with as coaches. Yeah.
Arthur takes with the next one.
Yeah, I think we are also coming close to the end. So
last,
one
I
more
think
question.
last three questions, just look at the relevant questions for NIHAR. I mean,
Right. One other question, I think most of the coaches would love to know what age group we should fix the main stroke or main event for our swimmer.
What age is it?
What age?
You know what? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. You definitely don't want to do anything, at least in the first 5 years, of training before you fix any main stroke. All 4 strokes need to be trained. And you know what? One very wise person once told me that the only constant in a child's development is change. Somebody who was a backstroker today might end up being an IMer or distance swimmer 5 years from now. So there is no such thing. They need to train all 4 strokes, and maturity or specialization should come much, much, much later, post-pubertal, around 18 or 16, between 16 and 19 years of age is when you can really start or should start focusing on specialization. Definitely not when you're 10, 11, 12 years of age and pre-pubertal for sure. Okay. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
There have been some questions on yardage, so I'll address them. Partha, look for the next one because that'll be the last question. For a 14, 15-year-old.
How do you keep our kids motivated till they are 17, 18? Because most kids leave swimming when they don't get results at young age.
Yeah, I have actually covered all this. But so you've got to focus. What is the meaning of results? See, this is the inherent program in our Indian coaching, in our Indian swimming structure. There is what is the meaning of result? This is a continuous process. The constant improvement that has to happen over the years. So a good result doesn't necessarily mean medal. And this is something you as a coach, you have to teach them and make them understand, both to the swimmer and most importantly to the parents, that they've got to focus on personal improvement, not what some other child is doing and what somebody else is doing. As long as the kid is improving, as long as your trainee is improving during the season, I think it is a good thing, because you have early maturers, you have late maturers, but the bottom line, I feel, is perseverance. You have got to keep on at it for years and years and years on end. And finally, I'm very sure the most diligent and the hardest working athletes will always, at the end of the day, be the most successful. Don't look for a quick fix and don't look for instant results, please.
There is a question on, am I audible, NIHAR?
Yeah, and this is the last question of the day.
Yeah. There's a question on determining yardage. And a lot of coaches probably will require some insights into yardage. This will be covered subsequently in planning and periodization part also. But your specific views on yardage in the current and latest world practices?
Yeah. I think swimmers are training less yardage on average now than they ever were before. I think the quality of workouts has gone up tremendously. I think recovery has the recovery techniques have improved drastically. And in terms of training yardage, a lot of it has got to do with how much pool time you have and the age of the athlete. And at the end of the day, you have got to, as a coach, when you design your training program, you have got to have progression in your program. If you are doing X amount of meters 3 years ago, and you're, because of the non-availability of pool time or whatever problem that you have, if you are still training the same amount of meters with the same kind of intensity and the same kind of workout what you were doing 3 years ago without any progression, it's highly unlikely that your program is going to be successful. So you have to have progression in terms of meters, in terms of intensity, in terms of motivation. There are 100 different ways you can motivate your athlete. So this is very variable. It depends on a lot of things.